All right. Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. Today, we're taking a look at something pretty incredible, and that is the mammalian immune system.
Absolutely.
We are going to be going through my notes and some recent research to unpack the incredible ways our bodies fight off infection. Every day, we encounter millions of microbes on our skin, in our gut. You name it, they're there. So how do our bodies keep us safe in this world that is literally teeming with these tiny little things?
Well, it's not just one thing. It's kind of mind-blowing, actually. It's this multi-layered dynamic defense strategy that is constantly evolving and changing.
So let's break it down. First layer,
Okay.
barriers.
Yeah.
Kind of straightforward, right? I mean, we've got our skin acting like armor.
Yeah, it's definitely more than just a passive barrier, though. Our skin actually secretes sebum.
Right.
And that's not just oily. That sebum actually has antimicrobial peptides that can disrupt bacterial membranes.
So this is fighting back before anything even tries to get in.
Yes. Exactly.
Wow. Okay, so what about like our respiratory system?
I mean, think about it. Every breath we take, we're bringing in potential invaders.
Right.
Our respiratory tract is lined with this mucus that traps these particles, and then cilia, those tiny little hair-like structures, they're constantly sweeping that mucus upwards so we can cough it out or sneeze it out.
Oh, so those coughs and sneezes are actually good things.
Exactly.
Wow.
That's your body working for you.
That is wild. Okay, but what about all the stuff that we swallow?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that kind of a risk?
Absolutely. That's where the stomach comes in. It's a highly acidic environment.
Right.
Most microbes simply cannot survive at that level of acidity.
That's got to be a pretty harsh welcome to the digestive system.
Yeah.
Pretty wild. But doesn't that acid hurt our own cells?
That's a great question. It does if it comes into contact with them, but the stomach lining actually has a special mucus layer that protects it from the acid.
Playing with fire, but in a really controlled way.
Exactly.
Ah, that is pretty cool. But what happens when, like, those first lines of defense fail? You know, like we get a cut or something.
Okay, so then the chemical weapons we were talking about, those kick in immediately.
Right.
Enzymes like lysozyme in our tears, saliva, they start breaking down bacterial cell walls.
So it's instant.
Yeah.
And then at the site of the cut, the blood clotting cascade begins.
Exactly.
Right. Blood clotting. We usually think of that as like just stopping the bleeding.
Yeah.
But it's also sealing off that entry point from further invasion.
Absolutely.
That's pretty smart.
Yeah. And internally, phagocytes, they rush to the scene. They're engulfing and destroying any invaders that got through.
Wow. So they're like little cellular soldiers.
Yeah. Think of them like patrolling your body.
Patrolling around.
Always ready to neutralize threats.
So it's like a microscopic battle happening all the time.
It is a constant battle.
Wild. But what about those more specialized defenses? The adaptive immune response.
Right.
I know that involves lymphocytes and antibodies.
Yeah.
But how does that all work?
Well, lymphocytes, they're kind of like our body's intelligence agents.
Okay.
They can identify specific invaders by their unique proteins, called antigens.
Antigens.
And once a lymphocyte recognizes a threat, it starts producing antibodies.
So the antibodies are like those smart bombs that we were talking about earlier.
Kinda. I guess it's a decent analogy, although antibodies are actually more like guided missiles that lock onto their targets. They don't destroy the invaders directly, but they bind to the antigen. And that can either neutralize the threat or mark it for destruction by other immune cells.
Wow. So there are different types of antibodies, each with their own way of taking down the enemy.
Exactly.
They're cool.
We've got some that clump the invaders together. Those are called agglutinins.
Agglutinins.
And that makes them easier to eliminate.
Makes sense.
And then we've got others called lysins. They can actually burst open bacterial cells.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then we have opsonins, which act like flags tagging invaders for destruction by phagocytes.
So they're like marking them for the other cells to come and take care of?
Exactly.
Notes mention the vaginal ecosystem as an example.
Oh, yeah.
Why is that so important?
Well, the vagina has this unique microbiome with beneficial bacteria like lactobacillus.
Lactobacillus.
Which produces lactic acid, creating an acidic environment. And that acidity makes it difficult for harmful bacteria and fungi to thrive.
Gotcha.
So it helps protect against infection.
So it's not just about like fighting off the invaders, it's also about maintaining this healthy balance
Exactly.
of all these microorganisms.
A healthy ecosystem.
Yeah.
And it